Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is your girl, Kaleef, aka K in the streets. Okay, I'm a mess, but oh my God, welcome back. I just wanted to pop in and make a quick cute little podcast episode here on my YouTube channel. Through my show, The Stark Effect, just to chat with you all. It's really been so long. Like, I can't even, oh my God, I think it's been like a year since I've updated anything on this channel. So it's been a while. I don't think I've posted anything since last spring when I finished graduate school. But I wanted to pop in and I wanted to talk tonight, right? Because it's just been so long. And trust me, I've been wanting to like come back and do a video, but it's just been a lot on me. So I just want to do a brief little update on my life and where I've been. Okay, so where have I been? I've been working. Okay, I've been working. So as you all know, I did go to USC. I went to USC Annenberg for graduate school last year. I graduated last summer. And, you know, ever since graduation, I've just been on the grind, right? What was I doing? Oh my God. Right after I finished, I got offered one job, a news job in Washington State, in a small city called Yakima or Yakima. I think that's how I pronounce it. I think it's Yakima. I'm not sure. But I got offered a job there as a multimedia journalist, and I did not want to move. At the time, this was pre-election, and you know, me being who I am, I was just like, I don't want to move to like a small city in the middle of nowhere, because I did my research on the city, Yakima. I believe it's pronounced Yakima. I did, and correct me in the comments if I'm saying it wrong. Actually, let's just Google it. You know, we have our good old trusty Google right here. Really quickly, bear with me, you guys. I just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. Okay, this is off script. Okay. Let's see. Let's just see what Google says, because I always, you know, we all have our words that we jumble. Oh, it's pronounced Yakima. Okay, but it's spelled Yakima, but it's Yakima. Anyways. So got offered a job there, turned it down. Then I literally went to the National Association of Black Journalists convention in Chicago, and I wound up running into some folks at a place that I used to work at, TMZ. You know, I worked there a little bit just simply as a production assistant. No, I was not on camera. I was strictly in the background. Yeah, and I started that in August. But, you know, after graduation from May to August, it was rough. Like, I was trying to pay my rent. I was, you know, literally like nickeling and diming to just survive, because I really did not want to leave LA. And I was helping my friend. One of my friends had a surgery. You get me? So I was like helping her, and it was just a lot going on, but I'm so thankful that I figured out how to survive. Even looking back on that, you know, that transition from graduate school to working is really, really hard, you know, and for me, I don't have like anyone to go back to. You know, most people, they probably go back home. That's not my story. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have active family in my life that will let me like crash on their couch and let me take like a year to get myself together and then go back in the job force, you know. So I was literally doing gig work to pay them bills, you know, and I just was hustling. And it was really, really hard, you know, but I kept my foot to the ground, went to the NABJ convention on a scholarship. Thank you so much, NABJ, for doing that for me. Got a small little job as a production assistant in the industry. It was at TMZ, child. And I was there for about 4 months. Now, what I will say is that content that I make, and I'm going to say this for a reason, because I'm no longer at TMZ, right? I have a new job. I work for a place. It is a traditional newspaper called Our Weekly, and I am the editor of that newspaper, right? That is not my newspaper. So I just want to make sure I say this to people who watch this on YouTube or people who might see this on Instagram. Our Weekly is not mine. I do not own Our Weekly. I work for Our Weekly. Any content that I make that doesn't explicitly say Our Weekly is strictly Kaleef Stark's Stark Effect Perfect Blend coming from Kaleef. But if I put anything out and I say, hey, this is Our Weekly, that is theirs, right? Because I had a few people tell me, you know, because I've done red carpet work, thank God I'm an editor, but I'm also a reporter as well, right? So I'm working, and it's a traditional newspaper. But I've had people tell me, oh my God, I thought that was yours. It's not mine. It's not mine. I work for someone else, okay? That's not my paper. That's not my brand, right? I represent them when I'm working, right? But if you see content that's meshed in with my personal social media, which is probably something I need to, we'll figure that out. But for now, it says, if it explicitly says Our Weekly, as it has always said, that is not the Stark Effect. The Stark Effect is different. The Perfect Blend is different. Now, for all of you who don't know, I know it's been a long time since I put out a podcast episode. I know some people don't know the name of my podcast because I'm not popular, right? Now, people who know me in my real life know about my podcast, but I'm not like a popular content creator, although I've been making content for a very long time. I don't have the numbers, right? So I just want to say to you, right? If it says Our Weekly, it is Our Weekly. If you see Kaleef, hi, this is Kaleef Starks at Our Weekly, holding a mic on a red carpet or talking, or you see an article that I wrote, that is theirs. That is not Kaleef in her personal life. So I just want to say that. But that's my work. I just want to express that because I've had people tell me literally, oh my God, I thought that was yours. And I'm just like, that's not mine. That's not mine. That is not mine. It's not mine, okay? So, but yeah, this is Stark Effect here. This is where I get to talk to you and just share about what's been going on. So, after I left TMZ, I went on to Our Weekly. And yeah, I just been working hard ever since. I've been grinding. I've gotten, a few great opportunities. So that's where I've been. Oh, and also too, I tried to do a podcast with a friend of mine. That did not work out. So no shade to the person. It just did not work out. But, it was called Cozy Chat, and it was something that was a labor of love for the few episodes that we did put out. It did not work out. So, to be honest with you, and I wrote down what I want to talk about. I just want to talk about, where I've been and why I stopped making content. Yeah, I had to take a break from making content. I was really trying to figure out this media industry, figure out how I could elevate and be taken seriously, right? Like when I was making content in the past, that was just me in my house with a dream, right? When I had the Perfect Blend podcast, right? On that podcast, I was way more unfiltered than I am today. But, I did the Perfect Blend for years. I started the Perfect Blend in January of 2019, and I dropped the last episode, I believe, in June of 2023. And it's literally like 4 or 5 seasons out on Apple Podcasts, right? But that was fully independent. That was fully me. The podcast was a beautiful chapter in my life. And who knows? I may come back and reactivate the Perfect Blend. I love the Perfect Blend. I haven't put out anything on that platform in a very long time. It's been like 2 years since I've even touched the Perfect Blend. But I was dedicated to that show for a very long time, which motivated me. After a while, I was like, I love interviewing people. I'm a talker, as you can see. I'm talking a mile a minute. I love talking to people. I'm very inquisitive. I love asking questions. I have some ambition in me. I have some passion. How about we take this to graduate school and actually get some training as a journalist versus being just someone who's talking ish on a podcast, you know what I mean? Not to shade people who have their podcasts, but I do feel like it's hard because there's so much content. Everyone and their mama's content creator, and I'm not hating, right? Because I want to do my thing too, right? But for me, I was like, hey, I want to figure out how I could really get into this industry and turn this into something so I could be taken seriously, as a journalist, as a reporter. Went to graduate school, got introduced to different career paths, such as broadcast journalism, print journalism, and so forth, radio, all that, right? I'm a trained journalist. A girl got her credentials. Okay, how you doing? So I got that. And now I'm out here and I'm just trying to make it happen. So that is where I've been. Also, too, I felt like I just needed to really sit back a little bit. We are back. Sorry about that. The video cut out because I have an alarm clock on my phone to tell me to stop eating late. Because, honey, I love to eat late, okay? When I tell you, y'all, like, your girl loves a plate of food, okay? It's a mess. I do enjoy eating late here and there. But yeah, I wanted to just say that's where I've been. And I had to take a break from making content because I was like, okay, I'm looking for a job. I want to be taken seriously in this industry. content creation is just simply where it's at. And I just want to talk a little bit, and I promise this might be a 2-part video, but short video so you all could just watch. Traditional media is a tough cookie. You know, being a person who is Black, being a person who is trans, you know, being a person who is very outspoken and used to being opinionated and used to feeling comfortable just to say my opinion, rather it be on an audio podcast and whatsoever, and then now moving into a different lane where I'm like, ooh, you know, I can't say everything I want to say as a reporter, right? To be honest with you, that's one of the main reasons why I stepped back, you know, because I just was like, let's take a break. You know, I've been doing this for so long, you know, and I got here. I want to chill for a second. I want to work. I want to see what this is like, you know, and I want to just relax a little bit. So trust me, it's not that I didn't want to put out stuff, right? But I just feel like it wasn't right. And, you know, to be transparent with you, my passion kind of died. And in this industry, rather you are a professional journalist or a blogger or whatever you are, like this, I consider this like podcasting slash blogging slash reporting. It's a mess. It's all meshed, right? It's really difficult to find your way, right? Especially if what I struggle with is not having the numbers, right? Not having the presence. So it's like I'm one of those people who have been doing stuff for a long time, but you know, I didn't really start seeing stuff come to me as far as opportunities till about 2020, when that happened. And then it kind of went dead again until I went to grad school. And when I say opportunities, I mean like interviews with people, you know, going to grad school, getting in, you know, after grad school, I was getting on red carpets and I just was hustling. You know, it's definitely a dedicated hustle. So your girl was burnt out and tired, you know, and so yeah, like that's where I've been. I struggled with my passion. I asked myself a lot of questions like, do you really want to do this? Because if you really wanted to do this, you would give your life to this. You would be on that camera every day, you know, but that's just not where I was at. I just wasn't there, you know, and it was interesting because I'm seeing so many people just put stuff out and I'm like, oh my God, I miss it. I miss it so much. I miss celebrity commentary. I do have a little celebrity gossip bug in me, you know, it's there, but it's, you know, it's stuff that I think I do with integrity and it's funny and it's humorous, right? So, and when I say that, I'm speaking of like my old podcast, The Perfect Blend. For all of you who actually listen to my content, I know it's not that many of you, but you know, Perfect Blend, I got almost 5,000 total. Actually, I got over 5,000 total streams. So there were people listening to my podcast in LA and all over the world. It wasn't a lot of people, but you know, I still had a little bit of traction there. So now your girl is not just a podcaster. You know, she's an editor and she's a professional in this field. So I do want to express once again, anything on this YouTube channel is not from our weekly, right? Me on this page, this is my personal page. I am not, if I have an opinion, I will tell you, hey, journalist hat off, this is Kaleef's opinion, this is commentary, right? I'm just gonna, you know, I literally had to research and figure out how other journalists do it. That was one of the other reasons why I shied away from making content, not only because I needed a break, I was tired after school, I needed a job, and I kind of was questioning my passion a little bit while I was writing and, you know, working in production, literally working in production, hustling, getting up at 4 a.m. every day to be there at TMZ, you get me, and to be there at call time, right? It was a lot of work, you know, and it put me in a place where I was like, traditional media does not, I don't know. I think traditional media doesn't understand a person like me. But even as I say that, I think traditional media doesn't understand creators who are podcasters and stuff. If you are someone who has their own thing going on and you're trying to be out here with traditional media is falling as we see it, right? Traditional media, it's there and there are people that are getting jobs, you know, but in LA, it's really hard. You know, it's really, really hard to get a job out here. You network with people, you never hear from them again. You have to have a lot of tough skin. A lot of people will smile in your face and tell you, oh my God, you have what it takes. I like you. You never hear from them or something happens, right? And it's, you know, so for me, I've had a few bumps in the road with that, you know, but I've learned to suck it up and take it to the chin, right? And understand that, you know, no one owes me anything and it's up to me to get back out here. right? It's up to me to produce content of my own and just do my own thing. I am an openly black trans woman in America, in this country, right? We see all this stuff going on, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot, you know? And, but I'm here now. I'm thankful for my education. I'm thankful for everything that I have. And I still want to work in this field, you know, but I also want to have fun. Like, I want to show my personality again. I really want to get back on camera. So that's where I've been. That is where I've been. I've shared what I struggled with. And, yeah, so that's where I've been, y'all. And of course, you know, life just has its ups and downs, you know, and it doesn't mean that a person doesn't want to do something, you know. But, you know, I am a believer in, you know, taking time for self, right? For example, I've been off of social media for almost a week. I had to take a break because it was just getting too real out here. Y'all saw now, this is Journalist Head Off. This is me as, you know, providing commentary. Now, y'all saw Donald Trump, right? Y'all saw Donald Trump with this recent big beautiful bill, right? That was happening. That got passed literally July 3rd. He signed it, I believe, on the 4th because he made his own self-imposed deadline, right? You know, that was something that really was controversial. It upset a lot of people, and it got to the point where I was like literally looking at social media. I was like, I gotta take a break. It's too much. Like, oh, it's too much. And it's not even just the political stuff. It's not just the racial stuff that we see. It's not just what's happening to, you know, Latino people, you know, brown community, Latinx people, right? It's not just what you see with transphobia and you know, femphobia and things like that, right? It's not just what you see with that. I felt weird being in it's not. There are times where I'm on socials and I see people who are happy and I see people who are jubilant, and I'm like, this feels weird. Like we're sad right now. Like, what do you mean? We're angry. You know what I mean? We got to get up off of here. You know, because, you know, before that bill was passed, I was volunteering since March with the center and the LGBT center, right? And we had a phone bank that occurred for about 3 months, you know, throughout various weekends, right, where we would call different batches of voters of different states, right? So we would call people in Idaho, we would call people in Alaska, we would call people in, where else did we call? I think we called, oh my goodness, I believe we called Maine. And I think we called a few places. I think we called Tennessee. We were just calling different states and different regions of the United States with a batch of voters, right? And we would call and we would, you know, read a script and urge them to call their representatives, to, you know, tell their state representatives, you know, their senators and all that, tell them, hey, please vote no on the possible budget cuts to Medicaid because they were going to run on the floor this past summer, right? They were going to, the House floor. I'm sorry. Ugh, Jesus Christ. I'm a mess. We're back. But, you know, yeah, they were going to run on the floor and Senate would pass it eventually, right? So we were calling in advance before that particular bill made its way through the House and it was passed by the Senate and so forth, right? Through legislation to actually become a piece of new legislation, which is now a 900-page document that has all of these different tax cuts, tax breaks for billionaires, for the wealthy, right? Cuts to Medicaid, cuts to SNAP, different benefits, right? They have private school voucher programs only for those students who go to private school, by the way, not always necessarily available to students who go to public schools, right? But in order to get that funding, they are chopping from the federal funding that is provided to public schools all over the country. So there's different legs of what this Senate bill, aka they call it this big beautiful bill because it's beautiful to them, but it's not beautiful to the working class, the poor, the families, the people of color, you know, people who rely on these different services, right? So that's something that I care about, you know. I'm not on Medicaid, but I do care. I have been on Medi-Cal before, you know what I mean? And I think now I'm on LA Care Child, which I believe is a form. I believe that is, LA Care is separate. That's covered California Child. But anyways, not tell my business on what insurance I got, but you know, I ain't a part of the 1%. So you see what I'm saying. But yeah, anyways, I share all that to say it's been a lot going on, and I'm rambling because I care. I'm rambling because, you know, these are some of the thoughts on my mind. And I'm going to do a later episode actually about this big, beautiful bill. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down, talk about who's affected. I'm going to break it down, talk about who's affected and so forth. But that'll be at another time. Not promising though, because sometimes I get tired. So it might come, it might not come. But I'm going to try my best to get it out to you. Anyways, I share all that to say that life is lifing. You know, when you are, you have any job, right? You still got to show up for yourself. So that's pretty much where I've been. I've been living life, y'all. I had to move a few times. It was just a lot going on. It was a lot going on, but I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm good. I lost a little bit of weight. I'm not going to say how much, but I've been working out, y'all. I just been trying to take care of my mental health and prioritize myself over anyone. Cause I think that, I have a little bit of a people pleaser in me. Over here stuttering. I have a little bit of a people pleaser little thing in me, right? So there are times where I might be hanging out with friends and I'm seeing that I'm giving all my time. And I'm like, yo, I gotta get this time to me. Because no one cares about me as much as I care about me, right? So I gotta give time to me. I have to pour into myself. I gotta show up for work. I gotta make sure that I'm taking care of myself. Because at the end of the day, we all gotta self-preserve, right? And for me, even with that on a personal level, you know, as I get a little bit older, you know, I'm in my early 30s, I'm learning to not take things personal, right? And also what I've noticed though is that people have a way of, and I'm just speaking generally, everyone has a way of asserting their own boundaries when they don't have the capacity or dealing with it, right? Now, if you're a people pleaser and you struggle with some of the things I struggle with, child, you'll always make yourself available even when you don't feel like it because you care about someone, right? But that those people will not always. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But for the most part, people are not going to have your back like you have your back. People are not always going to show up for you. So it's important for us as people to show up for ourselves, right? And, you know, tap into other areas of support, right? So if we feel like one friend is not supporting us, we go get that from another friend. Or we figure out how to support ourselves, right? Because at the end of the day, all we got is us, child. And this is not shade to no one, right? I'm just putting out that message of, you know, it's a lot going on that's affecting everyone. So it's the time for us to really step back if we got to step back. Take care of ourselves if we take care of ourselves, and also communicate that, right? Now, I communicate to people who communicate to me. You know what I mean? But if a person ain't communicating to me, I'm not going to communicate to them. You know what I mean? You know, so I'm a very matching energy type of person. You know what I mean? So all in all, that's where I've been. I think this is at like 26 minutes now, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching this really introspective episode of The Stark Effect. All right.